the princess of comfort and the house of problems. She had never washed a plate, cooked a meal, or made a budget in her entire life. Yet fate was about to take away every servant she depended on. What happened next shocked everyone. Amara was born into wealth. Not ordinary wealth. The kind of wealth that made life effortless. She was the only child of her parents, and from the day she entered the world, they treated her like royalty. In the prosperous town of envied, people often joked that Amara had more servants than some families had relatives. Every morning, someone selected her clothes. Someone prepared her breakfast. Someone cleaned her room. Someone carried her bags. Someone solved every problem before she even noticed it existed. Whenever Amara wanted something, she simply asked. And it appeared. Her parents loved her deeply. But without realizing it, they were building a beautiful cage around her. They called her princess. And the name stayed with her for years. As Amara grew older, she became known throughout the town for her beauty and elegance. People admired her graceful appearance. They admired her expensive clothes. They admired her confidence. But very few people noticed something important. Amara could not cook. She could not clean. She could not manage money. She had never learned how to solve life's ordinary problems. Because someone else had always done it for her. Still, none of that seemed to matter. Life was comfortable. And comfort felt permanent. Then she met Chaik. Chaik was a hard-working businessman from a respected family. He was intelligent, ambitious, and kind. After a period of courtship, they got married in a wedding so grand that people talked about it for months. The decorations were magnificent. The food was unforgettable. The guests came from far and wide. Everything looked perfect. When Amara moved into her husband's beautiful home, she smiled. The house had cooks, drivers, cleaners, assistants. Everything felt familiar. Everything felt easy. Amara believed her fairy tale would continue forever. But life had other plans. A few months after the wedding, trouble arrived unexpectedly. Chaik's business began losing important clients. Contracts were canceled. Projects disappeared. Income started shrinking. At first, Chaik believed the situation would improve quickly. But it didn't. Each month became more difficult than the last. Bills continued arriving. Money continued leaving. Eventually, Chaik sat down with Amara for a serious conversation. His face was heavy with worry. "We need to reduce our expenses," he said quietly. Amara didn't understand. Reduce expenses? What did that mean? Soon she found out. The driver was the first to leave. Then one of the cleaners. Then another. Then the cook. One by one, the household staff disappeared. Until finally, there was nobody left. Just Amara and Chaik. For the first time in her entire life, Amara stood alone in a kitchen. She stared at pots and ingredients like they belonged to another world. How difficult could cooking be? Very difficult, as she soon discovered. The first meal she attempted was burned beyond recognition. The second was worse. The third was barely edible. Some days she laughed. Most days she cried. Laundry became another disaster. Clothes shrank. Colors mixed together. Mistakes happened constantly. Meanwhile, the financial pressure continued growing. Amara had never managed money before. She continued spending on unnecessary things. Little purchases here. Little purchases there. Without realizing it, those expenses piled up. And so did the arguments. The happy home that once felt like a dream slowly became filled with tension. Amara grew frustrated. She felt trapped. Embarrassed. Angry. Sometimes she secretly blamed Chaik. If his business hadn't failed, none of this would be happening. At least that's what she told herself. But late at night, when she was alone with her thoughts, another fear appeared. A much deeper fear. What if the real problem wasn't the financial crisis? What if the real problem was her? What if she simply didn't know how to survive without being taken care of? That thought frightened her more than anything else. Weeks passed. Then months. The pressure became overwhelming. One evening, after another difficult day, Amara seriously considered returning to her parents' mansion. Their life would be easy again. There would be servants, comfort, luxury, no responsabilities. As she packed some of her belongings, She opened an old wooden box she had inherited from her late grandmother. Inside was a notebook. The pages were worn with age. Curious, she began reading. The notebook contained recipes, household tips, budgeting advice. But it also contained something unexpected. Messages. Small handwritten notes from her grandmother. Notes about patience. About perseverance. About facing difficult seasons with courage. One sentence captured her attention. Comfort teaches little. Challenges reveal who you are. Amara read the sentence again. And again. Something stirred inside her. For the first time, she stopped feeling sorry for herself. For the first time, she asked a different question. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" she asked, "What can I learn from this?" The process was not easy. Many times she wanted to quit. Many times she felt foolish. But she kept going. Day after day, week after week, month after month. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happened. Amara prepared a batch of homemade snacks, using one of her grandmother's old recipes. She shared them with neighbors. Everyone loved them. One neighbor asked if she could make more. Another wanted some for a family gathering. Then another placed an order. Soon more people started asking. Word spread quickly. The orders multiplied. What began as a simple hobby slowly became a business. Amara transformed a small corner of her kitchen into a workspace. She experimented with new recipes, improved packaging, learned customer service, managed finances carefully. For the first time in her life, she wasn't relying on someone else to build her future. She was building it herself. The business continued growing. Customers came from nearby towns. Profits increased. Eventually, the income helped stabilize the family's finances. It even helped Chaik recover during the difficult period. One evening, Chaik looked at his wife and smiled. Not because she was beautiful, though she still was. Not because she came from a wealthy family, but because she had become strong. The woman sitting before him was completely different from the helpless princess he had married. She was confident, capable, resourceful. Years later, Amara became one of the most respected entrepreneurs in Umyadike. People no longer admired her because of her family's wealth. They admired her determination, her wisdom, her resilience. Young women often visited her seeking advice. Whenever they asked the secret of her success, Amara always gave the same answer. The problems I feared most became the reason I discovered who I truly was. And she meant every word. Because the financial crisis she once considered a disaster had actually become a gift. It forced her to grow. It forced her to learn. It forced her to discover strengths she never knew existed. The Princess of Comfort had become a woman of purpose. And that changed everything. The lesson of Amara's story is simple. Challenges often reveal strengths we never knew we had. Comfort can hide our potential, but difficulties can awaken abilities, confidence, and wisdom that remain invisible until life pushes us to grow. True success doesn't come from having others do everything for us. It comes from learning how to stand on our own feet when life becomes difficult. And sometimes, the very problem we wish would disappear is the same problem that transforms us into the person we were meant to become.